benefit of everyone else. Yeah. So greetings, namaste to all who are watching this program. We are in a mud house, and this is avant-garde, the future of humanity, and perhaps the only hope that humanity has to restore our habitats in harmony with nature. So this is a microcosm. This is an off-grid house built in a total area of 3,000 square feet, with half of the area for producing vegetables and fruits and leaves. And also there are chicken for the poop used for the organic farming, and they also are fed on the whatever leftover food. So there's a complete synergistic, symbiotic relationship. All the water is utilized, all the rainwater is collected and into a tank which is used for bathing and kitchen purposes, and also for drinking, with different kinds of filters. There's a solar cooker for cooking food, and there's no cooking gas. So it is off-grid on water, off-grid on electricity, off-grid on cooking fuel, off-grid on any heating or cooling. So this is what is the hope for humanity. With us, Ranjan Malik and Reva Malik, who are the householders and founder of Primalize Consulting, to propagate these ideas further. I'd first invite Ranjan and Reva to share their experiences.
So yeah, hi. I mean, this is home for us, and it feels just so much a part of how we live that to talk about it like this is a little awkward to, so for us it's so normal that, that we're talking about it. But yeah, when people ask, we do share. So, the idea was to get back to what is core to us as humans. Somewhere we started feeling along the years that abnormal kind of livings had turned to be normal. So we wanted to just check that for ourselves, that what seems normal may not be normal for humans, for us as human beings. So because to look at the way animals live and the other creatures, the way they live, our living processes were far distanced from nature. So, if we are also a part of the animal kingdom, somewhere we felt we are far distanced than other animals. That was the first trigger in a way. And how we raise our children, how the kind of institutions our children go to before we feel they are ready for the world. Whereas all other animals, the way their offspring grows, they're immediately ready as they come into the world. They're immediately ready for the world. So somewhere this and many other things, the way our air is getting polluted by the day, our waters are not clean, we have to check whether they are ready for consumption or not before consuming. Somewhere it all started feeling not right. What kind of legacy are we leaving for the next generations? So we wanted to do something about it at our level, because this problem seems very complex now, so large that even to attempt a change, one feels that, oh my God, how much will I be able to do it? But at least one can start at our personal level, at our family units. So that's what we attempted to do.
Ranjan, would you like to share about how you connected with your innovation consulting journey as a globe-trotting innovation consultant, and earlier in the advertising and marketing world? So how did you shift gears and orbit shifted to this completely new, what looks like the future cradle for humanity?
So for us, it wasn't a sudden step change. It was gradual. It was happening all the time. There was a disenchantment with, like Reva said, abnormal had gotten normalized. But we didn't even realize that it had gotten, it just seemed so normal because everyone around was doing it and you thought that is the normal way. For me, things became stark also because when we would talk and I realized what felt normal in the corporate world, which was highly competitive, and which actually taught people to project yourself and amplify your achievements. And uh, I realized that maybe the kind of this system, that socio-economic system, is really interested in only two aspects of you. This happened when Reva and I would talk, and somehow we had decided that we work in different worlds, but we come back into the same home and run that household. Uh, and while if we had not discussed that much, that wouldn't have become very stark for me. That world is interested in only two aspects of you. One, that you are a factor of production. Two, that you are a unit of consumption. And the system rewards you for certain behaviors. And the behaviors it rewards you for are, I mean, who's a good factor of production? The one who gives more labor or service and accepts less. And who are the people who actually will do that? Who will actually give more than what they have, or even at the cost of their own health or their own well-being, will be people who aren't very secure. So the system was actually rewarding insecurity. It was fueled by insecurity. And therefore, insecure overachiever is an overachiever, succeeds, but the success is fueled by insecurity, a sense of inadequacy. And the system keeps feeding that. Otherwise, and the system hates people who are secure. And how does the system reward you? By actually giving you the product of the system, the cars and TVs and houses, because that's the product of the system. It's an autopoietic system. And it turns you into a super hyper consumer. So factor of production, and who is a consumer who will consume more than what he or she needs, are people who we feel who are actually insecure inside. If you can do with one bag, you would still need 5 bags. Are people, what will make you buy those 5 bags? And again, that world, the advertising and promotion feeds that behavior. So we realized that there was an absurdity there. And if we have succeeded in that world, would we want our children to follow that success and become even bigger, more successful in that world? We felt we didn't. And that seemed very, very absurd. And that actually happened when Reva and I would talk, and Reva would come from this angle and say, why is it needed? And that's when we, I think, came together and we said, sure, the world will change when it changes, but if we change things in our home, our world will change. And that is our beginning. And that's why we started to reduce one thing at a time from home, because our home was full of things and stuff. And we realized that if we were to do that one by one, it would take us many lifetimes. So we decided to move into this zero space. And we said we'll only pick things that are relevant for us, and therefore this home.
Yeah, Ranjan, thank you so much. Since morning, we have been here, our team, Arvind Tiwari ji, Darryl De Silva, and Swami Vishvamitra. And Ranjan, you also mentioned that your cost of running this household, where we had a sumptuous lunch, we are having a candlelight, atmosphere, which no way less than a 7-star resort. That's what I would just put it in perspective. And all it takes is about $120 per month, which is just about $4 to $5 per day, for a quality of life which is among the best in the world. Now, $2 per day is the poverty line. Now, I'm just asking you to put things in perspective. Would drawing up, rather than a poverty line, a kind of affluenza line or filthy rich ceiling of, let's say, $10 a day, that all humans, if they learn to live in such abundance of health and harmony and spiritual progress and cultural and social inspiration for all humanity, then would it in one stroke solve all the 17 sustainable development goals that the United Nations is so concerned about, the global warming, the climate change, and the ecological crisis, if we all agreed to a $10 per day ceiling based on the proof of concept that you have already established. I'm putting this question first to Ranjan and Reva Malik, who are living it up for the past about 2 years now, and in the making for nearly 2 decades. So you've been prepping for it. And then I'll ask the same question to our friends Arvind Tiwari ji, who is propagating this as a center for excellence and wants to do it pan India, and Darryl through his Earth Keepers Connect. We also have the New Earth Summit coming up in November, from 5th to 14th November in Goa, which I'm just making a prior announcement. So Ranjan, is this a proof of concept robust enough to be scalable, to do rapid prototyping in rest of the region and India and the rest of the world?
I'll leave it for Reva to answer this because she's the one who really holds this whole thing together. I'll only say that, our whole thing was that for our subsistence, we didn't want to be precariously dependent on any external system. That was one. And for our needs beyond subsistence, we wanted to be not dependent or insular and independent, but interdependent with communities around, or our own community, for things that there are little things, that snacks that people make, or there is a weaver next door who makes cloth, etc. So enriching the community around. And if this little community with our little habitat within can become self-sustaining and very vibrant in its health, surely it's scalable, because we don't believe that, when we talk about human scale and human, we are living a very precarious, it's a very precarious design to actually scale it to a level that we have scaled. Because when one cell or one subsystem collapses, the whole system collapses. This way, when every little subsystem is standing on its own, the system design is very robust. It doesn't collapse easily, is what I would say. Sure, so if it is scalable, sure, I think the design would be scalable. Reva, what would you say?
Yeah, so when we hear scale, it's a little, we get nervous that, because scale also brings along, what do you say, impersonalization. It becomes impersonal somewhere when we talk of scale. So that's my discomfort with scale. Another thing I would say is that somewhere this whole economics becoming the center of living lives, seems to also be an issue that, we don't know how to handle it, but it seems to be a crucial issue that why should finances only decide the quality of life? So to say that only this much per month, will become a formula somewhere, because actually we've also stayed with people where there's zero input of money, but the life is vibrant. The agriculturists, the farmers, their unit of exchange is their raw material. Whether it's grain or it's leather or it's iron or brass or whatever their work is. If that is their raw material, there are riches of various kinds. Here we are turning a monoculture of, even richness, if we're talking only in terms of money. So somewhere we are not looking at diversity. So we are becoming exclusive and not inclusive. So that's my discomfort of saying that why should economics take over? Economics can partner along with, whether social or cultural or psychological or emotional, so much when we talk of living life. So we are also talking about living, learning, and livelihoods to come together somewhere. That also makes one, that takes care of well-being in various ways. So somewhere, not only livelihood in terms of earning money decides the way of, the quality of life. So if we say livelihood is exchange of things or exchange of views, if that's livelihood, like a child does, an infant was just come into this world, uh, that infant's way of exchanging, relationship is through his or her nature, and he or she is the most vibrant, without get money coming into the picture. So somewhere we feel that maybe beyond money is also, there are also worlds which actually equalize. There also seems to be a need of dignifying and humanizing living. So many people, because of this monoculture of economics taking over, feel indignified. And in this indignity, so much happens that we are not able to then bring things together. Because then the focus of a person becomes to dignify oneself. And we can't overlook that somewhere. Now, we are also at a stage where we are also looking at, even if somebody is leading a lavish life, probably there's some emotional fulfillment that needs to happen first. We can't just say that, okay, that way of living is not good. I won't be able to say that, because probably that person needs that. There's a larger void somewhere else that that person is trying to fulfill. So, I mean, how can we become more tolerant and accepting of the other in whatever state they are? And then probably there'll be a ripple effect of whatever has to happen. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm more with that right
Yeah,
now.
so thank you so much. This is where I would bring in the research of two important scholars. Firstly, Wolfgang Sachs, who wrote a very epochal paper called The Archaeology of the Development Idea in 1992. And what he mentioned is actually, proof of the pudding in the eating, what you are demonstrating. So what he had predicted was that the third world, or the developing economies, so-called the global south, had a much better chance to turn around because they were not so deeply entrenched into the monetized economy and relationships to the extent that we are. So number one is Wolfgang Sachs. The other thing, Reva, you mentioned the concern of scale and also to pander to the unfulfilled cravings of lavish lives with high ecological footprint, brings us to Matthias Desmet, a clinical psychologist, because I see this as a mass psychosis problem. And he talked about how these cravings fulfill a deeper inferiority of loss of meaning and loss of connection. So if we just allow the mass formation, the yin and yang in balance, and this is where I would now turn to our friend and founder of CRDG Foundation, and Darryl D'Souza, founder of Earth Keepers Connect, who are planning to propagate these ideas as center of excellence, as prototypes to further expand it with the all India footprint. So Arvind ji, with your vision of healthy livelihoods, health, education, uh, and livestock protection, how do you plan to expand this center of excellence beyond the what Reva and Ranjan have so well demonstrated?
Chandra, as we were discussing before this meeting also, first basic thing is to be understood is that we have to understand that we live in a life where the coexistence is there with the nature, with the plant, animal kingdom, and within the society, the human beings, parents, kids, everybody. This coexistence, as soon as it is understood, it solves many problems. The challenges become easier to handle. Second thing is when we talk about center of excellence, as you have told, we look into and work on the 5 aspects of the society: education, environment, health, self-employment, and cow protection. All these 5 things, if seen together, they are complementing and supplementing each other. Our way of approaching the pan-India is that if suppose one set of village is having empty supply or lot of cow stock, livestock, cow, then how the total economy of that particular will move along with education, environment, health, and self-employment and vice versa, anything. If suppose anybody wants education, then that will be kept in center along with all these things. It is a self-generating process. And for this study, you have to move around. One of these centers was a small place of Ranjan and Reva Malik place, which we visited, and it was a great learning.
Yeah.
That in
Thank you so
3000,
much, Arvindji. We
just
have,
a minute,
yeah,
just a minute.
this is just a 30-minute
Yes,
session.
30, just a minute.
Yeah, okay.
It is a 3000 square feet area, out of which 750 has been used for living. The human beings, means they themselves, and if anybody comes in between, and less rest is used for natural things. So it gives a very fair idea that it can be done. And it will be discussed in detail when the time permits. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much. So Darryl, very quickly, how do you see this scaling up with Earth Keepers Connect, New Earth Summit? How do you demonstrate this and make it more credible for more people to cross the chasm?
Yes, so the first point that we've been putting through all our videos is highlighting, even just now I was typing something for a session this Sunday on the Awaken India Movement channel and program called Kaam Ki Baat. That means, talk of the work at hand, most important thing at hand. And the topic that I've chosen with just doing the wordings, it is how to break out of the control, the present control matrix, so that you can have your own securities, your water, food, health, and home and job or local economy security. So what we highlight first is that the people who are living in these control matrices, which we call the cities, where all of these basics in life are contaminated and controlled to such a degree that you can be sickened and you can be killed by any of these units of your consumption, what we call. So I think the biggest call we're putting out there is for people to realize, and people sitting at home now in lockdowns, most of the time, they have realized this, and they are fed up of the last 2 years of the pandemic, and they want a way out. And we are showing them the practical way out, which is to start. And these are all the techniques that we have been showcasing on the last 3 years of the New Earth Summit, solutions to our problems in health, food, farming, and environment. And it turns out that the decentralized solutions are what the world needs right now. So we are getting people to leave these control matrices, and because that's what the modern sci-fi buff who has been conditioned with the movies The Matrix, that's what they understand right now. And they know they are trapped in this place with the 5G, with the vaccines, and all these dominating and dictative things that they do not really want to succumb to. So leaving those control matrices, coming back to the village and learning how to live a natural life with all these, basically reconstructing everything. And it's no rocket science, because we've done this, 1,000 years or 2,000 years back. So that's another bell that we are ringing, that, hey guys, this is not something, that you really have to do a lot of work for. Basically, you have, from your ancestors or just 1-2 generations back in your village, the systems are there. Why don't you take a break, a vacation? Few families go down for a 15 days vacation and watch our videos. And of course, people are watching so many other videos on the environment, and on natural home systems, water systems, recycling waste systems. So we think that this education is really important now, and a lot of people are picking up all of this information. So they should start moving, into these very simplistic, easily doable, low cost, low maintenance formats of living. And that's what we are taking through our network.
Yeah, thank you so much. Shannon, you asked me that being out of corporate role, payroll for nearly 12 years, how do we survive? So this is the proof of the pudding in the eating. Now, I'd just like to invite Shannon Wills, author, artist, and founder of Wake Up Human Project, on how you would like to take the global South stories of the new awakening to rest of the world as the tide turns, because it seems that the global north or the developed nations are the most vulnerable to the coming collapse, and that is why the disparate measures of COVID protocols are being thrust on all of us. So just your concluding remarks and then we end the session.
Thank you, Chandra. I will keep it very brief, and I just want to say I wish I could be sitting with all of you together in that space. We have so much to talk about. This is not enough time. I'm so thrilled to meet you all and really impressed and inspired by the work that you're doing. I almost feel tears in my eyes being in touch with you and learning more about the work that you're doing. To answer your question, Chandra, what I feel called to do in my space is to be able to talk about these topics in language that people in my country will understand. As some of you have touched upon, there is so much disconnection and so much sickness of spirit. There is so much superficial living. People are lost. They're urgent for meaning and purpose and dignity, as you were saying. And my sense is that people are so disconnected from that they don't even know where to start looking. And so to be able to start to use language to propose ideas, new ways of thinking, help bend people's thoughts around these ideas, and use language so that people can hear them. There's a blindness and a deafness. We are so entrapped in that matrix that just learning which language to use that can touch people's hearts and start to open up a sense of possibility to the types of things you all are doing and talking about. So what I would love to do going forward is to collaborate on some of this language. I'd like to be able to use the kinds of language that you're using. I'd like to be able to support the type of work that you're doing, translating that culturally if needed. I mean, I believe you all are well aware though of the predominant cultures in the Western world. So I wouldn't need to be translating anything for any of you, but I think that there are many people in my country and Western countries who are so blind to what is happening in the rest of the world because we are entirely entrapped in the economic systems that you're talking about, such that proposing to someone to live off grid or to live an interdependent life in small community, people might be called to do that or interested to do that, but just consider that it feels entirely impossible. And so to be able to use language that reignites that sense of possibility so people understand that we are empowered to make such choices. And so whatever I can do to bring this conversation alive in my small pocket of the world, in my life and my circles of influence, so to speak, I would be very happy to do that. I'd love to have more conversations because I sense I have so much I could learn from all of you, sincerely. And I've been inspired. I hope you don't mind. I took some notes because some of the things that you were saying were so touching. I felt I need to chew on those and think about them, ruminate on them so that I can start to integrate them even into my own thinking, because that's the way that I become able to live that and then be able to share that with other people. So I do hope, again, I wish we could have many conversations right now, but I do hope we'll be able to continue the conversation in the future. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time and blessings to you for what you're doing. And I sense the joy that you are getting from this act of taking back your own sovereignty. It's a true joy. It's not a joy that comes from money. It's not a joy that comes from things. It's a joy from being connected to our deepest humanity. And that is what we all need so deeply. So thank you very much. Real joy to be in your presence.
Thank you so much. It's such a delightful coming together. I shared a poem this morning and Thank you for all the kind words for that. That is really from the depths of my heart and in the spirit of we are all indigenous, because there is not just the tribal, the folk and the local indigenous that so materialistic, tracking our history to some land, but our spirit is connected to the entire cosmogenesis and it permeates and pervades all the, not just the earth but all the elements. So that makes us all truly indigenous, and that also is interestingly the powerful political instrument to reclaim our sovereignty. And at the same time, as we propagate these proofs of concept, the Gaia Nation and Wake Up Human collaboration, I believe, will go a long way to make life lots more easier and possible for masses to cross the chasm, even in the Western world where, as you said, it looks almost impossible. So thank you so much for your valuable time early in the morning in Denver, Colorado, and we'll continue this conversation till we, hand over in the spirit of the indigenous saying to our future generation that we didn't inherit the planet from our forefathers, we borrow it from our children. And that's precisely what I'm listening to deeply from Ranjan, from Reva, from Arvindji, from Swami, Vishvamitra, and Darryl D'Souza, who we've listened to in earlier. And also our warm invitation for you to come to Goa from 5th to 14th November for the physical event of New Earth Summit. Thank you so much. Namaste and have a good day.
Thank you so much, everyone. Namaste and blessings.
From. Bye.